Invincible Mumu. By Han Jung-Wheelia. Chapter 41. First Class. Part 1. For her, archery was something she both loved and hated. Although she was doing her best to protect the prestige of her teacher, there came a time when her improvements with archery stagnated. Her master's best disciple had already reached the 7th level of archery, but she had only managed to reach the 4th. Ever since being stuck at the 4th level, unable to step in the 5th level for over a year, she decided to clench her teeth, cut off travel and leisure time, and tried to polish her skills every night. However, even with all that, she didn't show any signs of improving, and that fact made her extremely sensitive, and because of that she didn't allow anyone to watch her practice. Die. Puck. Puck. En Neon. I am not him. Don't spew nonsense and just die. Cho Naeong frantically stepped on Kong Seoriang, who was still laid out on the ground. She didn't really step on him to the point of killing, she just hit him in anger. Her anger had only ended when the man had passed out. Now she felt a bit relieved. She was wondering if Ki Meijin was spying on her again, only to find out it was someone new. She recognized it might have been a sensitive response, but why would someone come over to the training area when no one was there? Because they didn't want to be seen by others. And still, someone had come over hiding and looking at her, which was no different from humiliating her. He passed out. At that, Cho Naeon looked at the voice which came out. There, she saw that Mumu was carrying over Ki Meijin, who had an arrow stuck in his butt. Cho Naeon frowned. My arrow? So this one was watching too? She grabbed the bough which was near her feet and knocked an arrow, pointing it at Mumu. Mumu waved at her and said, Don't shoot. I only need to take the senior out. That sounds funny, especially when such things are coming from a person trying to steal someone else's martial arts techniques. Pang! As soon as the string was released, the arrow flew violently towards Mumu. Yet, with one hand, Mumu simply caught the arrow which came for him. At that, Cho Naeon narrowed her eyes. She had loaded the arrow with enough energy to threaten the man, yet he had still grabbed it like it was nothing. He isn't a normal one. Having never seen his face before, and with it looking so youthful, she had assumed he was a freshman. However, looking at how he had caught the arrow, he seemed to have considerable martial skills. Mumu, who had grabbed the arrow, tried to approach her. There has been some misunderstanding. I only came here to take this senior away. Pack. Before Mumu could even finish the words, Cho Naeon pulled out 2 arrows and shot them at Mumu. At the same time, she knocked another arrow and increased the distance between her and Mumu by flipping her body round and round before letting the arrow fly. 2 arrows flew directly at Mumu along with one mysteriously curved one, but this was just one of her techniques. Willow Song Arrow. It was the Willow Song Arrow, one of the best techniques she knew. The arrow bent a little and flew for Mumu's back. This technique changed the path of the arrow. How could one avoid all the arrows which were coming from 3 directions? At that time, Mumu let go of Ki Meijin he was carrying and caught the 2 arrows with both his hands at the same time. Papak. Ah. The woman groaned at it. Unlike the first one, these 2 arrows had a tremor in their movement, so their path was unstable. Yet this man had precisely captured them, he had very good eyes. But what is he doing? The Willow Song arrow was flying in from behind and it looked like he wasn't thinking of avoiding it. Confused, she exclaimed. Behind you. Mumu shook his head and turned. Pack. Hearing the sound of the arrow hitting something, Cho Naeon hurriedly went over to Mumu. If this man was at least a little sensitive to energy, he could have guessed the direction of the 3rd arrow and moved away from it, but he didn't, so now what should she do? Wyack. When Mumu turned back to her, she noticed that he had caught the arrow with his mouth. Cho Naeon, who was approaching him, suddenly stopped. She thought he needed to avoid the arrow, but instead he caught it with his mouth. She was completely amazed. Wait, it was loaded with energy, so how? Neon's eyes widened. If that man hadn't focused energy into his mouth at exactly that moment, all of his teeth would have been shattered and his mouth torn to ribbons. Crutch. At that moment, the arrow which Mumu was biting broke. Mumu gently raised his hands, leaving the other 2 arrows on the floor. Sorry, he said as if it was nothing. Cho Naeon stared at him with an absurd look on her face and lowered her bow. Am I really not talented? Although this man had the tag of a floor leader, he was still a freshman who stopped her archery. That too not by hand, but by mouth. The disappointment this brought was indescribable. Mumu scratched his head and spoke while looking at her disappointed face. I feel like you are misunderstanding. Senior, and I only came here to catch Ki Meijin, who left without permission. Is that so? She was already exhausted emotionally, so she didn't care about it. He was only here to take back Ki Meijin, and now his unconscious senior. At that moment, Ki Meijin, who was on the ground, muttered. Cho Naeon, rather, than bow, sword, suits you, better, Those words came out while he was still passed out. Who are you? Upon hearing that, Cho Naeon's expression was terribly distorted and her face was flushed red. Even if not for that, she was still trying her best to make up for the lack of talent she had in archery. She didn't have to or want to hear such things. Cho Naeon, who hated those words, drew her arrow at Ki Meijin's other butt. Mumu covered Meijin with his body. Stop it. Move out of the way. Cho Naeon said with tears brimming in her eyes. No matter what others said, she longed for the bow. Move. It will be tough if both sides are hit. A tear trickled down from her right eye. And she mumbled. What right do you have to say I don't have a talent for bows? Why are you so concerned with what others say? What? At Mumu's question, she frowned. To her, who was puzzled and fiddling with the arrow, Mumu said. You see, my father told me that if there is something we lack, we can just fill it up, so he told me not to be swayed by the bad things that others have to say. Cho Naeon's cheeks trembled at those words. She didn't think she would be comforted by the words of a junior she had just met for the first time. At that, she wiped her tears and smiled slightly. Your father seems like a wise man. He is. Then do you think you can see what my archery lacks? It had been a long time since someone looked at and critiqued her archery. She would practice with all her might, but now that she was readily accepting that she was lacking something, she asked Mumu if he knew what it was. Mumu tilted his head. He hadn't thought about it. He was only concerned with catching the arrow. However, looking at Neon's sparkling eyes, who seemed to expect something from him, he said. Aren't you lacking strength? Strength? At those words, she burst into laughter. He did comfort her, but this freshman didn't know much about bows. The bow is a weapon where elasticity is important. If she lacked strength, she would have trained for it in the past, but now that she was at a higher leave. Pang! At that moment, something brushed past her. Her hair fluttered from the force. Quack! A knock sound came from behind. To Cho Naeon it looked like Mumu had thrown something. So she turned her head. She saw her arrow embedded deep in the wall of the training center. JJKKKK. The wall slowly cracked around the arrow, and then suddenly a hole, quite a large hole, was drilled into the side of the training center. Her mouth opened wide in shock. Unlike the other training centers, the special center was made up of a different kind of stone, so it wouldn't break. Even if it was hit with an energy-loaded weapon, it would take a lot of hits and time to damage the wall, meaning a single arrow shouldn't have been able to do much. But this arrow had pierced right through it. Did that mean this wall couldn't even survive a single hit? Huh. To Naeon, who was at a loss of words, Mumu simply said. If you are lacking strength, all you have to do is make some. What insane logic is, At that time, Naeon's eyes widened. Till now, she was too obsessed with precision, trying to accurately hit the set target. But that wasn't the right answer. If strength was put into the arrow, then the effect would be even greater than precision. And an example of that was the training center wall. Ah. Her face brightened. Finally, she got the clue to level up. At that, she looked at Mumu with great joy. To give me enlightenment this way. It was absurd. To give enlightenment with vague words such as she lacked strength, this kid must have known what she was lacking. And to even help her in the Heavenly Martial Arts Academy, where students compete with one another. Why are you looking at me like that? Cho Naeon, who was startled by Mumu's question, shook her head and turned. She seemed embarrassed. Thank you. Because of what you said, I now know what I am missing. She wanted to express her gratitude, but she was a bit too embarrassed to look into Mumu's eyes. It was hard to guess what she was feeling. That is great. Then, I can leave. Phew. Mumu tried to carry both Kong Xiaoriang and Qi Meijin on his shoulders. All she did was look down on this guy, and he didn't seem the least bit hurt about her actions. Wait. What is your name? Me? Mumu. Mumu. An odd name. After Mumu left, she repeated the name for a long time. Next day. Moilwa was holding her stomach as she laughed. Pwahaha. What is that? And so you were nagged by the senior who passed out last night? Ugh. I am tired. She never expected Kong Xiaoriang to be so talkative. Mumu waved his hand as if he was tired. Seeing that, Jin Hyuk clicked his tongue. He wondered how yesterday happened. So stupid. That was then, Haryang approached and greeted him. Good morning, have you completed the liberal arts application? Of course. Moilwa took out a paper. On the paper were several subjects which could be taken. Among them, the names under red were compulsory subjects for the freshmen. Understanding the elegant light footwork. Close combat. Introduction to weapons. Defense martial arts methods for beginners. In-depth introduction to internal energy. Utilization of the energy. Practical battle. University. These were the subjects that all first years would have to take. In addition to these 8 courses, freshmen should also take 3 to 4 liberal arts courses. At first, Moilwa agreed to discuss liberal arts courses with the others, as she had learned from Haryang that it would be better to choose the course that one would like, as if a course was failed, then they would be forced to take a makeup one. So, they all decided to take the liberal arts class that each one wanted. I picked this. History of Murim. Basic blood points. Basics of removing poison. She chose those after carefully examining what she wanted. And they were the ones which could easily get her the grades she needed. On the other hand, Jin Hyuk took in-depth internal energy cultivation method. Difference between internal and external energy. In-depth understanding of the blood points ceiling. Although seemed the least bit interesting, Moilwa clicked her tongue when she looked at it. She didn't know why pick the tough ones when they had to aim for good grades. Moilwa looked at Mumu. And you? Me? Mumu pulled out a paper and showed. Exercise and physiology. Wise muscle training method. Importance of external energy training. Seeing that, Moilwa put her hands near her chin and asked. Do you really need to hear those things? Chapter 42. First Class. Part 2. The first class for the first-year students of Heavenly Martial Arts Academy was an in-depth introduction to internal energy. Within the academy there were over 435 students in the first year alone. In fact, there were so many people they needed to be divided into 8 groups because not all of them could fit into the lecture hall. There were 54 students that were placed into Group C. Among them were Mumu, Jin Hyuk and Moilwa. I'm looking forward to this. Wouldn't one of them be teaching it? Right. What kind of person will it be? The teacher hadn't arrived yet, and the students were excited. The reason for this was simple. It was because the teacher who would be instructing the class was very special. I am curious to know if they are one of the founders of the academy. Even Moily, who wasn't familiar with Murim, knew about it. The 6 stars of the 6 pillars which illuminate the academy. They were known to be very outstanding. They oversaw the audit and the special department. Those so-called special department teachers only taught students who had excellent grades and were in the 2nd year. There was only one teacher who oversaw the first-year class, and that teacher was one of the elites. Contrary to everyone's excitement, Mumu was yawning and clearly sleepy. Ach! Unlike everyone, Mumu was tired because of the nagging from Kong Xiaoriang. Moily clicked her tongue. Aren't you going to fall asleep during the class? Aha! You'll sleep. You'll sleep. You'll sleep next to Jin Hyuk. Moily shook her head and gazed to the side. Jin Hyuk seemed to be looking at someone. It was Hong Hyeryung. He's completely gone. She had noticed it to some extent. It seemed like he had fallen in love at first sight. However, in the eyes of Moily, it wasn't Hong Hyeryung. She is someone I am interested in. But they aren't the fantasies you are thinking of, was what he said. Jin Hyuk would come up with all sorts of arguments. It isn't like that. From the first class itself, it felt like she was getting bored. Don't bother, it doesn't matter if he likes her or not. Because I have you, Jin-sung. Moily was all for you, Jin-sung. And as she thought about it, her lips turned into a smile. It was then. Hyuk. The door opened and someone appeared. With that, they saw a white uniform. A person who came in with silver shining hair which softly moved and shined under the sun. If there was a legend about a woman in the snow, would this be how she would look? At the beauty, everyone exclaimed. Wow! She was Dan Baekhyun, a teacher in charge of in-depth introduction to internal energy. With each step she took, a cold wind blew around her. And because of that, her hair looked like it had snowflakes around her. Even Jin Hyuk, who was only conscious of Hong Hyeryung, turned away. She was extremely beautiful. Looking at her appearance, even compared to all the students in the academy, she didn't appear to be that much older. She looked so young. Is it because she has strong internal energy? Oh my! Dan Baekhyun. Both men and women liked her. And that was why her name spread throughout. Tak. Standing in front of the class, she opened her mouth. I am Dan Baekhyun. From the North Sea Ice Palace, 35 and still single. She was the one who introduced herself. Those who heard her age were shocked. They thought she was going to be young, but looking at the face, they all thought she would be around 19 or something. There were no blemishes on her skin either. Single. That word which drew all their attention. A woman with such beauty was still single? At Dan Baekhyun's words, Moily raised her chin. After all, if this woman missed the age of marriage, then she was nothing but mere beauty. Hong Hyeryung shared similar thoughts. At that time, Dan Baekhyun opened 3 fingers. 3 warnings in advance. Gossip and other things won't be tolerated in this class. Second, during the classes don't go back and forth. And third, during the class, never say things like marriage and lover. How did the third rule have anything to do with this class? Everyone thought so, but no one mentioned it. You live life alone. So, let's just focus on the class. And everyone focused on her words. After all, it was the first class, so it would be a brief introduction, right? All eyes lit up in such anticipation. But I will give an overview of the class, explain what direction the classes will go in and things about internal energy and finish with simple practice. The eyes of the students were filled with disappointment. And the class didn't seem like it would end soon. Energy occurring in nature is dispersed in the air we breathe. Depending on how we refine the energy and receive it and operate it. Even after half an hour since the class started. Ugh. Mumu's eyes were gradually closing. This class was an in-depth introduction to internal energy. In other words, it was an in-depth class for those who used internal energy. On the other hand, Mumu didn't even have that, and as a result, this class meant nothing to him. Pack. Jin Hyuk hit Mumu with his elbow. He made sure Mumu opened his eyes. He's losing it. Jin Hyuk was irritated. He didn't even remember how many times he had to wake Mumu up. 30 times? This one was falling asleep halfway through the class. Of course, it was quite worthless for a guy who didn't even know of internal energy to be here, but shouldn't he at least listen? Seeing how he was acting from the first class, he knew what the next ones would be like. No, he was more worried about himself. He didn't listen to the third of the class because he kept waking up Mumu. I can't do this. He would have to ask Moilwa to handle Mumu. The seating was Jin Hyuk, Mumu, and Moilwa. So, Jin Hyuk looked to Moilwa. Nod. It looked like she was sleeping too. No, she was supposed to take over keeping Mumu awake, not fall asleep with him. In a moment of confusion. Tack. Ack. Moilwa, who was dozing off, was hit by something. What was on the desk was a piece of chalk. No sleeping. It was none other than the master Dan Baekhyun. The students giggled. Ack. Moilwa covered her face. Shaking her head, she tried to continue teaching her class. And then she noticed someone else. The kid next to the sleeping girl was also falling asleep. Dan Baekhyun did the same again. Wop. Put. Quack. Quack. Huh? Are you fine? She aimed properly, but as Mumu was dozing off, it entered Mumu's nostrils. Don't sleep. She felt bad, but at least the kid won't sleep now. And then she narrowed her eyes. Mumu must be the kid that Baek Woo-ji was talking about. Did he say that this one was the first kid to pass the entrance without learning any martial arts? Everyone was shocked at it, even she was surprised. It was the first time that such a thing happened. But that wasn't all. It was his talent that allowed him to pass the entrance exam, but this is when the competition started. If his grades weren't properly maintained, then he will not move up within the academy. And he has been like this from the first day. His future was visible. If the kid didn't double, triple, or quadruple the work, there was no hope. He was a kid who knew nothing about martial arts. Tat-attack. Hong Hyeryung came out and tried to work the blood points on Master Dan Baekhyun, who was laying down. The technique was to immobile the opponent. There was no specific place, blocking the blood points on the back or the shoulder blade was enough to paralyze the body. Toot. There was the sound of something happening coming from Dan Baekhyun's body. The sound was coming from the blood points. The students were counting. 8, 9, 10. And the moment they counted it. Shoo! Baekhyun's body was raised up normally. Everyone clapped at that. It was to show the secret technique to releasing the sealed blood points by using a small amount of energy floating through the body and holding them above the blood points in advance. It could be called a truly groundbreaking method. Have you seen this? If you can handle and move the energy this way, you can easily be released from sealed blood points. Easily? This wasn't easy. When a body is paralyzed, it would be difficult to feel energy in the body. It would be strange to feel it in such a situation, and even stranger to be able to manipulate the energy. Now that we have seen the demonstration, let's pair up with the people sitting next to you to practice. And the seal needs to be released before a 100 count. Almost 10 times. In that way, the students were paired with those who were next to them. There were a couple male students ready to pair up with Hong Hyeryung, but the woman had refused them. Hong Hyeryung approached Jin Hyuk, who was sitting in the back. Shall we compete and see who can solve this first? The only existence in the world who can be called as her rival. She thought that was Jin Hyuk. Therefore, she was convinced that only competing with Jin Hyuk would make her stand out. On the other hand, Jin Hyuk was still considering. She wants to pair up with me? His heart trembled when she told him to join her and not someone else. He wasn't sure, but maybe it was an opportunity to get to know her. If USA. Grab. At that moment, someone held Jin Hyuk's arm. Surprised, Jin Hyuk turned his head. Moilwa was smiling. Ilwa? Ho ho ho. What is it? Jin Hyuk was supposed to pair up with me. Jin Hyuk couldn't hide his shock at those words. Didn't she just say that she wouldn't pair with him? Why now? Ilwa. Grab. Right? Jin Hyuk? The strength she was putting on his arm was no joke. And if he refused now, he was going to be a dead meat. Jin Hyuk had no choice but to agree. That is right. At Jin Hyuk's words, Hong Hyeryang's brows raised high. Moilwa felt satisfied with that. It was absolutely unacceptable to let someone take away her people. Pwahahaha. Get lost quickly. She asked her to go away with happy eyes. Looking at her, Hong Hyeryang bit her lower lip. She didn't like Moilwa's expression of dissatisfaction each time they crossed the paths. Tack. Holding someone's wrist, she said. You. Do it with me. Me? Huh? Moilwa's expression changed when the target changed to Mumu. She thought Hong Hyeryang would retreat, but she went for Mumu instead. And now Moilwa couldn't move. Are you trying to play it this way? Don't know why, but you need to pay the price for interrupting me. Moilwa and Hong Hyeryang looked at each other with sparks flashing. In that way, a rivalry formed. Mumu scratched his head at the stinging gazes around him. He couldn't know their intent, but still felt the anger of the male students nonetheless, probably because he was with a famous student. Phew. On the other hand, Hong Hyeryang sighed. She had chosen Mumu out of curiosity, but he seemed bland. Since she decided to compete with Jin Hyuk, her skills would have to stand out more and attract him. I don't feel internal energy from him. During the first years, the rumors about Mumu were widespread. A student who passed the entrance with plain physical skills. And that was amazing. However, the problem was that the muscle strength mattered nothing where internal energy was needed. Mumu, was it? Yes. Do you know how to seal? I don't know. It didn't seem like something to be proud of, and Hong Hyeryang shook her head and raised her hand to ask help from Dan Baekhyun. Baekhyun was already paying attention to the fact that Mumu wasn't suitable for this test, so she went to help. Tat attack. Dan Baekhyun sealed Hong Hyeryang's blood points. Hong Hyeryang closed her eyes and began to feel her body, and soon found some internal energy. She is calm. Baekhyun praised the child. No matter how intentional and known this practice was, the body would end up feeling tense the moment the blood points got sealed. And she could tell by looking at the students. Yeah. Concentrate. Be conscious. With their senses paralyzed, they were unable to concentrate. On the other hand, this child, Hong Hyeryang, was able to calm herself. Maybe it was because she was the descendant of someone famous. The key to this is how calmly you contemplate the situation and yourself. So, Baekhyun started to count. 15, 16, 17. Flinch. At that time, Hong Hyeryang's finger moved. And then she counted to 20. HIA. She exhaled as she lifted her upper body to a sitting position. Those who were watching all exclaimed. So far, among those who started to practice, no one was able to release themselves. Which meant that she was the first one who managed to do it. Great! Compliments flowed from Baekhyun's mouth. When she first developed this method, she too had seen many trials and errors. However, it was amazing that this girl could get herself up at 20. Ah. Nice. A compliment from the special master. And she looked around. All those gathered around her were looking, and that made her heart flutter. And she seems to quite like a lot of attention. Baekhyun managed to know about Hong Hyeryang's hidden desire. However, she thought that kids of this age were naturally attention seekers, so she didn't care about it much. I'll give you 1 extra point because you did it the fastest. Everyone was envious at those words from Baekhyun. Since she received 1 extra point, it meant that Hong Hyeryung was currently on the top. And Jin Hyuk released the seal on blood points at the count of 34. That too was quick. However, when he knew that Hong Hyeryung did it earlier than him, he began to think. It seemed like the walls differentiating them and the descendants of the 4 great masters was quite thick. At that time, Hong Hyeryung was trying to seal Mumu's blood points. Is this going to be fine? Mumu hadn't learned internal energy. No matter how strong the body was, internal energy was a different beast entirely. Hong Hyeryung exhaled lightly. You don't have to force it. It is fine. She didn't quite understand how, but seeing that Mumu wanted to try it, she didn't back down. Hong Hyeryung snorted at Mumu's bright appearance. There were a lot of things which couldn't be done with physical strength. Tat-attack. Without hesitation, Hong Hyeryung sealed the blood points of Mumu. Mumu opened his eyes and flinched. Again, it seemed like he couldn't move. Well then. Jin Hyuk and Baekhyun were both watching this from afar and both shook their heads. It was common sense to know this test couldn't be done with the absence of internal energy. Twitch. It was that moment when Mumu's facial muscles twitched and his body trembled. At the same time, the upper body his entire body's muscles swelled up. What? A strange thing. Everyone was puzzled, but then they heard a breaking sound all over Mumu. Crack. Crack. The sound of bones breaking within. Everyone was confused, something was going wrong? But then Mumu jumped to his feet. Phew. Hong Hyeryung's eyes widened at the sight, and it wasn't just her but all the students around. No way. But doesn't that bastard not have any internal energy? So how? What was thought to be impossible by common sense happened. Dan Baekhyun was quite surprised too, her lips parted and at a loss of words. He did it with only his physical strength. It was the first time she saw a seal being released like this. Then someone shouted. W8. That one opened the seals on the blood points at the count of 8. It was shorter than the record of their master, Dan Baekhyun. Chapter 43. First Class. Part 3. 8? Insane. Does that make any sense to you? Even our master couldn't do that. The entire room was in turmoil. Dan Baekhyun, a special master, taught them how to unseal their sealed blood points. Even though she took around 10 seconds to unseal hers, Mumu had forced his blood points open in just 8 seconds and with no internal energy. How? The person who was shocked the most was Hong Hyeryung. As highly ranked in the entrance exams, it seemed natural for her to occupy the best position. But thanks to Mumu, it didn't seem like that was true anymore. 8. She had 20 counts till she was free. There was a gap between her and that guy which couldn't even be compared. I was pushed. It was quite a shock to her, who had been happy and confident of being the best. On the other hand, Puhaha. Moilwa, who hadn't yet unsealed her blood points. She was delighted to see Hong Hyeryung utterly shocked. She was worried that the woman couldn't be caught if she was left to lord around. Mumu, you did well. Mumu thought it was nothing special. Meanwhile, Baekhyun, who was surprised, seemed troubled. The students were looking at her. Did this hurt her self-esteem? It must have. She is a top talent in the academy, but then a guy who doesn't even have internal energy does something like this. Yeah. After all, the method for unsealing doesn't seem to be too dependent on internal energy. Still, contrary to the students, how did he do it? Is it generally possible to do it with just muscle strength and no energy? If possible, how did he learn it? Did he by chance perform a bone graft to push out the seal? She was thinking of other essential things. She didn't care that this new kid managed to surpass her own record. Her theory was that any method which was an improvement over the previous had to be seriously considered. Methods needed to be improved with time. Then Mumu spoke to her. Master, don't I get extra points? Ah. Dan Baekhyun looked at Mumu. His eyes were full of anticipation and this puzzled her. Since this guy did it faster than the master, she thought he would act arrogant. But instead this kid seemed innocent and pure-eyed. Give me an extra point too. Focus just here. It was quite different from the students she had seen before. So cute. Dan Baekhyun, who was staring at Mumu, opened her mouth. It was interesting. Will I get extra points too? Yes. However, I gave Han Hyeryung a point for doing it faster, but you did it the fastest, so giving the same point wouldn't be fair, so I'll give you 2 points instead. As soon as her words were heard, the crowd soon created a commotion all around. In an instant, Mumu and not Han Hyeryung had become first in the class. Han Hyeryung bit her lip. Getting only 1 extra point turned out to be nothing special. But then a student raised their hand. Master, wasn't what was just shown now different? Different? Yes. In the beginning we were only asked to practice removing the seals the way the master taught us, and that guy there, he didn't do that but did something entirely different, right? Some of them agreed with them. What Mumu did was completely different from what was shown, and giving that a score seemed too much. To that, Baekhyun said. I said that my method was groundbreaking and fast, but student Mumu here did it faster than me, someone who is known to be proficient in this. That too without internal energy. That. Then that would mean that the student Mumu's method here is more efficient and innovative than mine. Which is why I gave him the extra points. Clear explanation. Any more problems? No. The student who protested sat down quietly. The student still looked at Mumu with jealousy. Dan Baekhyun warned her students. We don't have time for this. Students who cannot unseal it after 100 counts will be judged to have not taken the class properly and their grades will be lowered. As soon as she said that, people didn't care about Mumu anymore. And when the class went silent, Dan Baekhyun fell into troubled thought. The first class was done. After class, the faces of the students seemed satisfied. Among the numerous academies throughout the place, none other than the Heavenly Martial Academy had such a high level of education. And that was why people were so focused on getting into the academy. Moilwa and Jin Hyuk were waiting outside the first classroom. It was because Baekhyun asked Mumu to stay behind. Why did she ask him to stay? In response to Moilwa question, Jin Hyuk only said that he didn't know. It was because of Mumu and Han Hyeryung. As the two of them had scored extra points, strange jealousy had shot up in him. I took it too easy. 2 to 3 years. He thought he had enough time. And didn't he make it into the top 12? However, with such a relaxed attitude, wouldn't he be pushed further down the board? I need to work harder. After this, he vowed to work harder on his training and even cut into his sleeping time. Seeing Jin Hyuk, Moilwa thought. He's so serious. After being with him for a couple of days, she understood what his personality was like. Every time she saw Jin Hyuk, she would wonder if his older brother was the same. As they were brothers, she thought they would resemble each other. The next class was the Introduction to Weapons class, and she spotted Hyeryung, who was moving to the class of In-Depth Introduction to Internal Energy. Hyeryung. Miss, did you enjoy the first class? Well, it was fine. What about yours? It wasn't bad either. The master was so flexible with us and funny too, and we barely started the course. Oh really? The next one seems to be sweet. Moilwa smiled. How was the internal energy class? Forget that, what I am most interested in is, who is the special master? Master Dan Baekhyun. Huh. A glint of light shone in Hyeryung's eyes. He seemed happy. Seeing him like that, Moilwa smiled. It will be fun. I ended up feeling very refreshed. Even though it was the first class? Huh? Her voice is so comforting that it'll be hard to hold back from falling asleep. At her words, Hyeryung scratched his head. He was wondering if he should like the statement or not. Just then, Mumu came out of the room. "Young Master Mumu? Harrying. You seem to be in trouble from the first class." He was convinced that Moilwa would be the best person to have on his side, so he kept trying to please her. Seeing him like that, Moilwa shook his head and asked Mumu, "Why were you asked to stay behind?" "She wanted to check the condition of my body." "Condition of your body?" "Yes." Was it because of that test?" Her prediction was right. Baekhyun, who thought about it during the entire class, decided to take a look at Mumu's body. "And that is the end of it?" "I don't know. She said she would like to study my body when she has the time." "What?" Moilwa raised her voice as she was a bit startled and then hushed herself, feeling embarrassed. "What do you mean?" "Just that. She said my body is different from a normal person's body." "Not different. A lot different." Moilwa looked at Mumu and then at Haryang. At that, Haryang covered his body. "Why are you?" Compared to Mumu, he almost had no muscles. Not caring about it, Moilwa spoke to Mumu. "Ya, Mumu. Listen to what I am telling you. No matter how famous the master in the academy is, if they ask to study your body or take a look at it, you should simply decline it." "Why?" "What? Why?" "Hey! It is all about protecting yourself. From the moment you become a Murim, your body is supposed to be a secret no one can see, so don't let others scrutinize your body." Jin Hyuk nodded at her words. It made sense. Just by examining the body, one could understand the flow of internal energy, which is why martial arts and the accompanying techniques cannot be revealed. Miss is right. It could be to touch your internal energy. But I haven't learned it. Sigh. At Mumu's words, Haryang was speechless. Come to think of it, Mumu hadn't learned any martial arts at all. And as such, nothing could be obtained by looking at Mumu's body. Right, Miss Mo. Yeah. I said no. A man should know how he should take care of himself. No matter what happens, if someone asks to look at your body, say no. I heard that it would help with research and that I will be given a star rating. Haryang couldn't help but be surprised at it. A star rating? What is it? Moilwa and Jin Hyuk looked at him. Ah. I see that you two don't know. Tell us what it is. I told you before that there are a few things that the Academy is proud of. Right? And the Heavenly Library is one of them. Huh? Yes? They heard about this from the inauguration ceremony. It was said that the students of the Academy will receive benefits such as various martial arts manuals and various medicines and weapons to enhance one's own martial arts. What do you mean? It gets secretive from here. Haryang looked around to confirm no one was around. Don't you know that grading is of 4 stages? Right. The first was for all the students. The second was open to all second-year students and the first-year students with the highest grades. The third stage was open to third years and the top-ranked second years. And finally the fourth stage, the last one, was open to only the third years with the top grades. That was what they heard. Right. But that isn't all there is, there are more hidden ones. Really? Shoo. Just listen, will you? According to Haryang, conditions existed for entering the hidden ones. It is said that it was something that only the headmaster or the audit committee and special department could give. And Mumu got that? Yes. Curious, Mumu asked. Is that good? Absolutely. I don't know what the benefits of the secret ones have, but those who enter and exit are known to take a huge step forward. A huge step forward. Even Jin Hyuk, who didn't seem much interested, was engulfed in this. It was the first time he knew about the Heavenly Library secret. Did brother know about it? He thought. And Moilwa asked. Then if Mumu got the star, he can go there? Probably, but I've been told that one needs at least 2 stars to get into the first secret floor. So it means he needs to get stars from 2 people? Right. However, I heard that getting stars would be very tough as the standards are high. Among the first-year classes, there is only one class which gives up the opportunity to interact with a master of those departments. Ah, right. This meant at most a first year would only be able to earn 1 star though. So, in fact it was safe to say that no first year would enter those secret archives. Taking that into account. It can be used later. But wouldn't using it right away work? It could be that. But the important thing is to just receive it. Why? It really matters. There is a rumor circulating around those who graduated with high grades. What is that? There is a secret that in the last secret archives of the Academy there is a very important thing. What thing? It is a rumor, so I can't be sure. Tell me so I can try to understand it. There is a rumor that there is a damaged copy of the supreme martial technique of Truth of Heavenly Martial. At that, Jin Hyuk was shocked. Among those who practice martial arts, was there anyone who didn't know of this technique? Even Mo Ilwa seemed to know of it. There was a story that even the Southern Sword Emperor was nothing compared to the other three, but after reading just a page of it he had changed drastically. Is that the truth? Do you know of the martial heavenly sword, Ryu Hyan? Except for Jin Hyuk's older brother, Eugene Sung, he was the most respected swordsman. As the second ranked, he had graduated from the Heavenly Martial Arts Academy with the highest grades. And among them, he was an expert who was known to have the most completed martial arts. I heard that the Infinite Sword is the only one who went into the last one and came out. At that Jin Hyuk's eyes trembled. If that was the case, he couldn't help but feel interested. If it is that book, anyone would be envious. And Mo Ilwa said. Awesome, wait, then you are saying that Mumu earned 1 star, a condition which allows him to enter it. It is like that. Of course, you can only enter the final one only after earning 8 stars. The last archive can be opened if one was successful in all ways. Which meant the conditions were harsh, but Mumu luckily managed to get one. Mo Ilwa spoke while holding Mumu's shoulder. Mumu. I take back my words. Be sure to get more stars. Don't miss this chance. At the sudden change in her attitude, Haryang stuck his tongue out. Despite the fuss, Mumu didn't seem interested. Is that good? Yeah. Didn't you just hear? A secret which has been passed down in legends. Legends. If people knew about it, they would be raging. Okay? You aren't interested in anything other than muscle training? That thing is a value which cannot be converted into money. Mumu had no interest in martial arts. Actually, the star too sounded nice to him because it seemed nice on his ears. Phew. Mo Ilwa, who was frustrated by it, changed her mind. It is something which can help you build muscles a lot easier, faster, and perfectly too. Oh. Those words finally were able to elicit a reaction from Mumu, something that hadn't happened this whole conversation. It seemed like muscles were all he thought about. When she spoke about muscles, she could see Mumu react like a normal person. It's that good? Finally Mumu understood their reactions. And it didn't seem like a bad idea to get something which everyone seemed to be interested in. And then, he suddenly thought. Oh? If I ask the deputy to give me 1 star, will I be able to enter the first archive?